Good morning and welcome into SimWorld today on this Friday, July 19th, audio only edition of the show. I am Marsh, joined this Friday, like we are every single Friday, by the man, the myth, the legend, Rick Blaze. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Marsh, what's going on, man? I'm just disappointed that the people can't see my face this morning. I'm looking rather radiant this morning, actually.
You're always looking radiant. You're always looking
Thank you,
radiant.
Marsh.
It's been a
Thank you.
minute since I've been on a show with you. I feel like it's at least 1 week. I wasn't on last Friday.
No, it's been more than 1 week, Marsh. It's been more than 1 week.
That's what I'm thinking.
I thought you dumped me, actually. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
no, I would
felt
never. I would never do
I,
that.
that's the feels though. That's the
Well,
feels.
just don't you ever worry about that. That would never be the case. Speaking of getting dumped, Russell Westbrook gone from the Clippers after one season where the two sides seem to really be infatuated with each other. He's already found himself a new home as he's going to join the Denver Nuggets after he's traded to the Jazz and then a subsequent buyout. So Russ, the former MVP, continues this march around the league from Washington to Los Angeles, and now to Denver, where he was coveted by three-time MVP Nikola Jokic. Rick, the fit, I mean, what is your take on the whole situation? The cut, the trade, the fit, take it wherever you want.
I feel it's very interesting to me that all teams that they have Russell Westbrook are making him fall on the sword for his shortcomings every year, as if
Mhm.
he's really the problem for what's going on with the team, right? It's just kind of weird that a guy of his caliber has kind of just been slung around to these different teams. But I will say this: they slung him around and messed around and slung him to a perfect spot in Denver. I think he's going to work really, really well with that Denver Nuggets squad. I think he's going to give them a lot of energy off the bench. And I think he's going to provide a lot of moxie to the team. I don't think that's something that goes that can be overstated and go with a different type of swag, right? They're led by Jokic, who kind of leads more of a quiet example, sort of kind of. And so he's going to kind of even Gordon is kind of these guys are kind of a quiet guys. Murray's a kind of to yourself a guy, but then you got this kind of more of a abrasive, aggressive guy in Westbrook coming off the bench, changing the energy and the tempo. I think this is a great landing spot for him, and I think people are going to start using his name in positive ways as opposed to negative ways when they see how he plays on this Denver squad. This can be a revelation for Westbrook in the long run. I like this for him.
I I actually do, and I've always been admiring Russell Westbrook's energy and the way he plays the game, but at the same time have always been very skeptical of his play style. You look back to the MVP season and the 2 to 3 years after, I think there was a lot of Russell Westbrook apologists out there. And I was always kind of the mindset, it's like, look, he can't shoot a three. He's a very high energy but very inefficient basketball player. His stats look incredible. Um, but I actually do like this spot for them because the challenge that Russ had in the post OKC days was there was never a very defined pecking order. And I think in the last couple of seasons, we've started to see that pecking order get very defined, especially last season with the Clippers. Um, with Denver, you're right. I mean, he's not going to get the ball. I would expect his minutes to be in the 15 to 20 range, if not a little bit less than that, because he's not going to start over Jamal Murray. He's not going to be the primary ball handler over Nikola Jokic. He's going to be the sixth, seventh, eighth guy off the bench that comes in and says, "Hey, put the throttle to the floor and see when you run out of gas." And that is the play style of Russell Westbrook. I think it's a damn shame that a guy of this caliber has had the close of his career that Westbrook has had. It never should have gone this way, right? I mean, because you look around at James Harden, at Kevin Durant, and for all the love that people poured on Russell Westbrook, he was always so stubborn that he never found ways to change his game or maintain his game or even prolong the prime of his career. He was always so stubbornly reliant on his athleticism that when his jumper started to fail because of that, he couldn't maintain that high value level of play. Um, I mean, part of that's due to the fact that being 35 should be kind of like this and not what Kevin Durant and James Harden have done. But I like the fit, but I think this is a really sad ending to one of um the most notable players of this generation. Because you're going to look back on it in 10, 15 years, and people that aren't alive today or too young to remember today are going to look at his numbers, be like, wow, this guy was sick, and then he kind of sucked because he's just going from team to team to team to team. I don't know that that's very indicative of who he is in terms of his impact to the game of basketball. Here as he's kind of reaching the twilight years of his career.
I agree. Revisionist history is terrible at times, especially when you're not living in the moment.
Hmm.
But if he manages to get a championship with the Denver Nuggets, it's going to hoist him in a way that's going to make him seem like when they do revisionist history, oh, he sacrificed his game for the team. So, winning the championship kind of cures all of those little headaches that he's going to start hearing. That's probably not true, like you mentioned. So hopefully he can get that championship on his side, and that'll look really really better for his resume at the end of his career.
And the best part of it is you've got Jokic asking for him specifically.
That's
And
the only reason why he's there, Marsh. That's the
right,
only reason why he's there.
exactly. And that's the first time that's happened for him since LeBron did it. Um, but the problem at that point in the career was that Russell Westbrook was still trying to be Russell Westbrook and not this late stage version of himself. And I think the humbling of the departure from the Lakers, joining the Clippers, I I'm still very curious if we're ever going to get a explanation of how this fell apart with the Clippers because it did kind of just seem like a really nice fit for both sides. So I'd be curious to know how that fell apart because he's been a pretty good basketball player for them in the role that he was asked to play.
Yeah, but it's
Let's
still the Clippers. It's still the Clippers, Marsh.
right. They're two versions of themselves at the same time. Let's
Yes.
head to the overseas competition of the week. We'll head to Scotland, where the Open Championship is underway in Troon at the Royal Troon Golf Course. And for some of the big stars, it didn't go so well. Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy struggled through some inclement weather, but few struggled worse than the legend Tiger Woods, an 8 over 79 in round one. Despite him saying that his body's feeling better than it did last year and earlier in this year, he is tied for 138th after the opening round, 14 strokes behind the leader. And golfers with the low 70 scores will tie and make the 36-hole cut. So he's in danger of missing that completely. The most iconic golfer of all time, Rick. A very difficult end to his career. Now, this is not him retiring, but should it be?
Man, I don't say this often at all, and especially on record. But I guess I'm gonna say this right now because I don't like my man Tiger looking like this. I
Hmm.
really, 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 really don't like him. He take his hat off and he looks bad. Everything just looks bad right now. I think I need my man to go get some Botox, and I need
You
him to
think
go
he's
get some
had it?
steroids. I need some Botox and steroids. It's time for the roids, Tiger. Listen to me, because right now he's not Tiger Woods. He's Eldred. He's playing
Hmm.
like Eldred right now, and I don't like that. I didn't meet Eldred. I don't know Eldred. I didn't go to school with him. Man, who is you? I don't know you. I want Tiger back. Get these roids. Talk to you. Talk to you. Get these some roids, and come on back and be the roaring Tiger we know you to be. That's just my take on it. I can't sit here and watch him look like I can beat him in the putt contest. That's not how it's supposed to go. Get these roids, Tiger, and let's come on back.
You're right. I mean, he's bigger than he ever is. I mean, he's definitely stronger physically. You could see that. I mean, maybe not stronger, but he's definitely much more jacked than he ever was in his prime playing days. You're right. He just looks aged, which he should look aged. He's been around for 2 decades. But this is the challenge that we have with professional sports and the highest level of athletes. We never got to see this from Tom Brady, right? We haven't seen this yet from LeBron James. We don't in the last couple seasons and kind of last couple years, we really haven't seen these elite guys go out after the greatness has passed. The last guy I think that we really saw like kind of limp off into the sunset was Peyton Manning. And he still did it on, a championship winning football team where he just had to do his job, which was just to keep the team alive, and his mind was good enough to keep him there. But Drew Brees, if he had kept playing, we probably would have seen something like this. It's tough to watch because you can tell that the guy has a ton of competitive fire to still want to be in this. And he's undoubtedly the greatest golfer of all time. But it's challenging to watch this because I'll still remember as a kid the awe of turning on Sports Center because let's be honest, as a 12-year-old watching a round of golf isn't the first thing on a kid's mind. But you'd turn on Sports Center and it'd be like Tiger Woods minus 27 through 3 days, and then second place is at like minus six. And you're just like, this guy's something else. And to now be this as our aftertaste of his career, it's tough. It is tough to see. It's unfortunate to see. Golf should be a game that ages well, and I think Tiger just hasn't been able to do that for a number of reasons. Obviously, injuries being the primary one. Um, but it is challenging to see that he's on the verge of missing his third straight cut in a major, something that he hasn't done since 2015. You just wish that the ending was a little bit stronger than this, and it kind of makes you wonder if he might be trying to get one last big moment and saying, "Okay, that's it for me."
Yeah, I mean, his son is getting older. I think he's spent a lot. I see a lot of videos. He was spending time teaching his son the game of golf, which is a fantastic thing. But yeah, I think so. I think he's trying to gear himself up for one good last run.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to go out on top. I don't care who you are. I don't care whether it's work. I don't care what type of work it is, what type of sport it is, what type of job it is. Everybody wants to go out on top. So I think he kind of want. He doesn't want to go out like this. Who does? So he's trying to get himself geared up for one good last push, and hopefully he can get that, man, because he deserves it. He's done a lot for the game, a lot for the sport. Most of the young guys coming up now probably looked up to Tiger,
Hmm.
and so you want to see the guy go out not like this though.
No, you don't. So we'll keep tabs on that. But Tiger Woods 8 over 79 through opening day of the Open in Scotland. All right, let's head to SimWorld Prep, where some news came out yesterday, courtesy of Samuel Charles. Breaking news that the more than a couple, plenty of teams were dropping their offers to Gabe Pope and Victoria Silgauskas just 2 days before the commitment deadline. The quote, according to Charles, was believing they have overplayed their value in the market. Rick, I think this one's kind of simple. I think this is a two-way street, and I'm always going to be pro player. I'm always going to be on the side of not the guy with the tons of money and all the opportunity, but rather the guy that has to work his way up. But if we get pissed if a school says no, thank you, we need to get pissed if a player says that, and that's what all these guys are doing. To me, this is like you're at a party. You see a girl and she's playing hard to get. And Rick, I know you've never had this problem, but at some point, it's just not worth the playing hard to get, and you move on. I think that's exactly what these schools have done. I don't see an issue with it.
No, not at all. That's that's on par of the course, right? Like you and I said and I'll say this. I'm sure with all the teams for both players that's been offered what they've offered, I'm sure a couple of teams have offered very nice, sweet situations for them. Now, I'm not their mama or their pappy, so I can't tell them what to do, what not to do. But I'm just saying, there is a risk reward here now. By like you said, keep the same analogy. You've been looking at this girl, and this girl's your speed. This is the person you want to talk to, but you're waiting till the end of the night to try to say something. Now she might not be available in the night now, dog. She might get scooped up. So
Hmm.
you might want to shoot your shot now instead of saying, you know, waiting to see if it's gonna get sweeter because sometimes the other side of the fence is not, the grass isn't always greener. So there's a chance that those guys are taking, and they might end up having to sell it for something a little bit less than what they had on the table for somebody else by waiting. That's a chance you take.
You do. And look, I know that these guys have been getting offers since May. And I know that there were offers going to both of these guys within the last couple weeks. It's not as if these recruits, Gabe Pope and Victor Sogauskas, were just getting offers starting in the beginning of July, right? They have been getting offers very, very late into this process as teams sit there and say, well, he's still available. I guess we'll throw a scholarship his way. So to hear the response be, well, this is a little unfair. The deadline's in 2 days. The deadline doesn't mean things have to go that long, right? Like you can have a deadline for a paper for school doesn't mean that you have to write it at the last hour, right? Ideally, you probably don't. You don't cram for the exam the night before. You'd ideally be doing a little bit of prep work. And so these guys have had plenty of time to choose. And it's not as if every single school dropped their offers. They still have a number of schools left that I've been told that are both of them, which is interesting enough. Missouri seems to be putting a press on as both of them have scholarships remaining from Missouri. But just because the deadline goes till then does not mean the school is obligated to keep it there. And if you're looking for a wing defender and you're saying, well, we can get Gabe Pope, or what if we miss on Gabe Pope and because we've been waiting around for Gabe Pope, we miss all the other options on the table? They're just going to pivot and say, well, screw this. I'm just going to go and get something. I'm going to lock up the position that I need to get. And I think that's simply the case of what's going on here. If you needed a big interior defender, Victor Sogauskas is the best one on the board. There's no doubt about that. But you don't want to be left with no interior defender because you were hoping you were going to be the one out of the 20 plus teams, which is also a ridiculous number for both of these guys in terms of the offers that they've gotten. Um, 20 teams offering both these guys. That's Cooper Flag. That's Japhet Towns area. That's no offense to either of them. It's not really Gabe Pope or Victor Sogauskas range in terms of the skill level, but because they've been on the market for more than 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
teams just keep throwing stuff at them. Eventually, a team's just gonna be like, "We're done. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with the waiting." I understand the frustration from a player standpoint. I do not understand the sense of unfairness from a player standpoint because this will always be a two-way street between player and team, Rick.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's how you play your hand, and that's just how they choose to play their hand. And you can't be mad at the other person, or disappointed at the other person, or have an expectation of the other person meaning these other teams and these other programs, to act any other kind of way other than by their own accord, because that's how you act, right?
Hmm.
If everybody can do what they want to do, then everybody can do what they want to do. And
Exactly.
if one person should be able to trip, then nobody should be able to trip. So that's just the way that the rules will go. What's good for the goose is, you know, the rest. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting to see where these guys go. I hope this is not a situation. Oh my God, I'm having PTSD. I hope this is not a situation. The reason why I don't go to the mall with women, because my mom messed it up for me. My mom I used to go to the mall with my mom. I had no choice when I was young, and she will find an outfit she liked within the first couple of stores. But instead of buying it, she would go to another 10, 12 stores,
Hmm.
only to come back around and circle back around 3 hours later to the initial store she found the product. I hope that's not what these guys are doing. Oh, my blood is boiling right now just thinking about those days with mom. I have a feeling though that's probably close to on par with what's going to happen in this situation, and that's disappointing.
We will find out by the end of the weekend where Gabe Pope and Victor Sogauskas end up. It won't be from a list of 20. It'll be from a list of about 5 or 6 for each player. All right, that's our show. We're coming back next weekend, or next week rather, on Monday with plenty more to get rolling. the Olympics on the horizon. I think we'll probably end up talking plenty of Olympics coverage, which is exactly what we need. Uninformed people talking about sports we never watch but suddenly do out of the blue. So we will be doing plenty of that starting at the end of next week. Rick, appreciate you joining. Good to be back in the booth with you here. Thank you all for tuning into SimWorld today on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.